Gold and silver stackers are a smart bunch. We're not hiding our heads in the sand, and we're well aware of the declining value and status of the US dollar. And most of us are prepping for all kinds of different scenarios with precious metals, food, water, supplies, and other protective gear. But are some of us missing a key asset when it comes to being ready for whatever the bank or government throws at us? We're going to talk about that and a lot more, so stay tuned. What's shaking YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. As always, I hope you guys are doing well, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the latest video here at the channel. And of course, for all the amazing support. It does mean more than you know, and I do appreciate it. Best damn community on YouTube. Alright, so today we're going to talk about the one asset that many of us might be short on when it comes to prepping for the unexpected. Now, we've all seen the recent news from not long ago in regard to bank collapses. And quite a few folks went out and bought precious metals as a result, and that caused some serious shortages at some local coin shops. But is that going to be enough? Is that going to be enough to sustain you through financial implosions? Let's go ahead and roll it. Alright, without going into details about the recent bank collapses, we already know that the fallout was one of the causes in the spike in silver and gold sales the last couple weeks. Unfortunately, the premiums went up with the sales, so now we're going to have to deal with that for a bit. But yeah, the big increase in demand definitely left a few LCSs short on stock, including my own. And that's what fear does. It drives people to precious metals. They're looking for that safe haven. On top of that, a lot of folks withdrew all their cash due to fears of their own banks crashing. Now look, the reality of present day is this. The majority of the banks out there aren't going to collapse today, tomorrow, or any day soon. But should you be concerned about that potential? Absolutely. Now, a lot of folks are going to tell you that the FDIC's got you covered if your bank crashes, but there's a limit on how much they can cover. And you also have to keep in mind if more banks fall at once, if a bunch of them were to crash, the FDIC would only be able to cover a small minority of those losses, which would leave the majority of the account holders out in the cold, basically until a viable solution's implemented. And we're talking about our government here, so that could take months or longer. So taking into consideration that silver and gold are generally a safe haven for preserving your wealth, what's the one asset that too many people seem to be overlooking when it comes to stashing that wealth outside of the banks and protecting yourself in the event of a bank crash? You ready for it? Cash. Yep, fiat cash, greenbacks, dough, bread, lettuce, simoleon, smackaroos, whatever you want to call it. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking right now, hold up. Just about every stacking channel on YouTube tells me that cash is trash and it's losing value by the day. And this friggin' guy is telling me to stack it? Yep, I am. And you'd be right to an extent. Our cash is indeed trash. But before you call me a nutcase and hit the thumbs down and unsub from the channel, hear me out. I'm about to give you some great reasons why you need to stack cash with your gold and silver, along with some of the drawbacks. Now, please bear in mind, I am not condoning anyone pulling out all their cash and stashing under their mattresses. It's not what I'm saying here. So don't go pulling out all your cash saying Silver and Gold Stack Attack said I should do it.
Don't you do it! Don't you!
You could always do something similar to what I do, which is pull some out each payday and stack it, leaving the rest in the bank. Now, all that said, I know a lot of people who are just content to leave all their money in their accounts, and that's okay. That's a decision. Yeah, cash is trash, but as of right now, we still need to have some of it, and, well, unfortunately, most of us still need banks. Now, here's a reality check for you. Only 39% of Americans right now, could pay an unexpected bill of $1,000. Let that sink in for a second. 61% of Americans don't have $1,000 available to them. And that's a sobering thought, and one that would make me at least try to use that $1,000 mark as a threshold for saving some cash. But then, look, reality hits. Some spend everything they have to live, and it might be difficult to save it all. Life isn't cheap, folks. It's only getting worse. And I'm going to give you some reasons for stacking cash. Number one, anytime you need a large amount, you won't have trouble coming up with it. We all know banks have a maximum amount of withdrawals per day, and you can only withdraw as much as the bank allows you to. And if you decided to withdraw all the money from your bank, well, then they have to report it to the IRS if it's more than $10,000 in cash. And the IRS might be interested to know where you needed the money and what it was for. So let's not expose ourselves to those guys any more than we have to, right? Number 2, banks can go bankrupt or close down for extended periods of time. Now, as we know, there have been instances where the government stepped in and closed banks due to bankruptcy and a worsening economy. Also, banks can close because of natural disasters such as snowstorms, tornadoes, earthquakes, yada yada. With some of your money stashed within the reach of your house, you can at least have access to the cash you need. You just can't tell when these disasters are going to happen. But if you have emergency cash, at least you're ahead of the game. Number 3, you can have money available right away. Now, whether you need money for small or big purchases, your money's immediately available to you. You don't have to spend some time and energy going out to the bank or the ATM, especially if a disaster happens. You don't have to worry about the endless lines, and that's inevitable, folks, that you're going to see at the ATM or the bank, if they're even open at all. And one more note on this. You can look at your stash of cash as a short-term savings account, just without the interest. If you're putting it out of sight and out of mind, it can actually add up pretty quickly. Number 4, your money is safe during an electronic meltdown. Look, all banks are doing business through electronic data, both online and offline, and if an electronic meltdown, or even worse, a grid failure occurs, your money would be safely stashed at your house and not lost among the destruction of electronic files. I mean, we're in an electronic age where our lives are online and pretty much defined by digital numbers, and if that avenue crashes, we're going to be screwed. It's another outcome that's been on my mind as the FedNow and CBDC thing inches closer. What happens to your money if there's a grid failure? CBDC is going to experience the same exact problems an ATM card would, but if cash is no longer available, what then? And number 5, in an SHTF, cash will still likely be king, at least for a while. Look, there's a very distinct possibility that gold and silver might not do you much good in an SHTF, unless society as a whole embraces it as a measure of barter right off the bat. Now, I've always said that precious metals will be probably more useful during the recovery stages versus immediately after an SHTF. And you can look at Venezuela as an example. I mean, they struggled with their worthless fiat for years before turning to gold and silver as currency and barter. Now, I'm not trying to fearmonger and paint a Mad Max SHTF scenario. I'm just saying we need to be prepared for all scenarios regardless of the severity level of them. Alright, those were some of the pros for keeping a stash of cash at home, but there are also several reasons why you shouldn't keep a lot of it and deposit your money in the bank instead. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Number 1, your money won't earn interest. Now, if you've got a considerable amount of money in the bank earning monthly interest, then you're basically throwing money away by keeping most of it out of the bank. That goes without saying. I mean, it might not be much interest, but at least it's a small pro for keeping the bulk of your money in your bank. Number 2, your money is not insured if you keep it at home. If your money gets lost or stolen, God forbid something happens to your house, you can no longer retrieve any amount from it. It is gone. It is gone. At least at the bank, a decent amount of it is insured, and you can count on recovering that unless, like we talked about earlier, a bunch of banks crash all at once. Then there's a problem. But it does go without saying, if something were to happen to your house where the money was destroyed, well, it's gone for good with zero recourse. Number 3, you become a target for thieves. Now, if word gets around that you've stashed money in your house, you're going to become a target for theft. But if you genuinely feel the need to keep your money at home, don't advertise it, and keep it in places that are secure and safe. Some rules about keeping money in our houses. We don't talk to others, especially neighbors, about our stacking, cash, weapons. That's no one's business but your own. Hell, some of my family members don't even know I stack or prep. Number 4, you won't be able to pay using your ATM or checking account, obviously. It's pretty routine that we pay large purchases like cars or house payments using our bank accounts. But if you don't have money in an account, well, you're going to have to carry large amounts of cash with you. And this situation can be dangerous and a magnet for thieves. So it makes sense to have some money in the bank and some at home. This way, whatever happens, you'll still have some money left. Also, ironically, some vendors don't even accept cash anymore. Can you believe that? And those that still do, you might blow the cashier's mind if they have to make change. This is the same crowd that can't read an analog clock. That's just the world we live in today. If their phone doesn't do the thinking for them, they can't function in a normal society. It's pretty sad. And number 5, it's impossible to buy online with cash. Look, nowadays, purchasing stuff online is the primary means of buying things, which includes paying your bills. And if you have your cash stashed at home and you don't have a bank account or ATM cards, hey, hello, can't spend online, right? So it makes sense to keep some money in the bank for those purposes. All right, there you have it. I hope you guys found something useful in this video. And again, I am not saying pull out all your cash from the banks. Just keep some available to you in the event something goes down. Ideally, we should have 3 to 6 months worth of bill money stacked, but that's just not feasible for everyone. Anyway, those are just my thoughts, and I'm passing them on here in this vid. That being said, I'd love to hear yours, so be sure to drop a comment down below. I do have a blast reading them, and I do try to respond to most of them. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. If you made it this far, well, kudos to you. I will definitely catch up with you in the next episode, but in the meantime,
What do you want to do with your life?
damn right, get stacked. Stay safe and be well, everyone. I am out of here. Peace, folks.